They dumped her in the desert like trash. A sack torn from her head, wrists still zip-tied, boots dragging against the sand. No words. No bullets. Just the sound of laughter fading as the truck's engine groaned back into the dunes. Captain Maya Hart, U.S. Naval Intelligence, had been beaten for answers she never gave. 3 days of fists, wire, and ice water. When none of it worked, they chose an older execution, silence and geography. Death by heat. The night air stunned like broken glass, sharp with diesel and iron. Maya blinked against the starlight. No roads. No landmarks. Just endless dunes and a thin slice of moon hanging over nothing. They'll find her bones by sunrise, one of the men had sneered before leaving. Buzzards won't wait that long, another replied. Now they were gone. And she was still breathing. Every step was punishment. Her shoulder throbbed from being dislocated, lips split, ribs bruised deep enough to worry her more than the pain. Her throat felt scraped raw, as if she'd swallowed sandpaper. Maya dropped to her knees. The desert wind hissed over her like a warning. She should have been finished. Should have stayed down. But the first rule hammered into her during survival training whispered back. You don't die on their timeline. You die on yours. She spat blood into the sand, looked up at the cold stars, and whispered through cracked lips. Not like this. With a trembling hand, she pressed her bootlace aglet against the plastic tie digging into her wrists. Metal on plastic. Sawing. Slow, steady, patient. Minutes dragged. Pain blurred. Then, snap. The sound was small, but to her, it was artillery. Freedom in one broken piece of plastic. Maya flexed her numb fingers, wrapped the canvas hood around her head like a crude scarf, and scanned the horizon. Nothing moved. No help was coming. But survival wasn't about hope. It was about defiance. And she had just enough left for one more fight. Dawn was coming. The cold desert night was already giving way to the kind of heat that didn't forgive mistakes. Maya's makeshift scarf shaded her face, but it wouldn't last long. Every breath felt like swallowing fire. Her body screamed for water. Her thigh was bleeding through a ragged bandage, her shoulder throbbed with every movement, and her lips cracked open each time she tried to breathe too fast. Still, she moved. Crawling toward a shadow at the base of a dune. 10 meters at a time. Rest. Count breaths. Crawl again. When she finally reached the shallow rock overhang, the sun was breaking the horizon. She collapsed beneath it, chest heaving, eyes blurring with exhaustion. Hallucinations crept in, the sound of helicopter blades that weren't there, voices that belonged to people long gone. She almost let herself believe them. Almost. Then she saw it. A flicker in the sky. Too steady to be a mirage. Not wind. Not imagination. Her pulse spiked. She ripped the little metal tip off her bootlace again and twisted it against her cracked watch face. Primitive mirror. Poor man's flare. She angled it toward the sun and flashed, left and right, over and over. Her vision swam, muscles trembling, but she didn't stop. She had nothing left except stubbornness, and sometimes that was enough. Above, in the cockpit of an MH-60, a co-pilot leaned forward. 10 o'clock low. Surface reflection. Not natural. The pilot narrowed his eyes. Take us down. Maya's hand shook so badly she almost dropped her signal. Dust rose on the horizon, carried by rotors she could finally hear. She forced her arm higher, even as blackness crowded her vision. If this was the last thing she ever did, it would be this, refusing to vanish quietly into the sand. The roar of rotors hit first, chopping through the desert silence like a saw. Sand whipped into a storm around her, stinging her raw skin, but Maya didn't drop her arm. She held the glinting scrap of metal high, teeth gritted against the grit filling her mouth. The helicopter hovered low, a black silhouette against the blinding sun. Ropes spilled from its side. 2 SEALs slid down fast, weapons raised, eyes scanning the dunes for threats. Contact front, breathing, badly injured, one of them shouted over the deafening rotor wash. The second knelt by Maya, fingers pressing her neck. Pulse, weak but there. His voice carried urgency. "She's alive!" Her swollen eyes fluttered open. The medic's face leaned close, lips moving against the storm of dust. "You're safe now. We've got you." Safe. The word tasted foreign. She coughed, tried to speak, but only a rasp came out. She lifted one trembling hand and pointed south. "Coordinates," she croaked. The medic froze, understanding cutting through the chaos. He pressed his radio. "Command, she's giving us a target." "Repeat, she's giving us a target." Maya's vision blurred again, darkness clawing at the edges. But she kept her hand up, her lips forming numbers even as strength drained from her body. Not rescue. Not yet. This was the beginning of the return. Inside the bird, the air was cooler but heavy with tension. Oxygen hissed through a mask strapped over Maya's face as 4 fluids dripped into her arm. The SEAL medic leaned close, eyes fixed on her vitals. "You took a hell of a beating out there," he said quietly. Maya ignored him. Her lips cracked as she forced words out, each syllable carved from stone. 45.29. 76.04. The medic frowned, then pulled a notepad from his vest and scribbled fast. "Coordinates," he muttered into comms. "Confirmed by survivor." Another SEAL glanced over. "We sure she's not delirious?" Maya's hand shot out, weak but deliberate, grabbing the medic's sleeve. Her voice was a rasp, but steady. "They're still there." Silence filled the cabin, broken only by the drone of rotors. The medic met her eyes, then nodded once. He relayed the numbers up front. The pilot's voice came through their headsets seconds later. "Coordinates line up. We've got heat signatures on satellite overlay." Maya sank back against the stretcher, letting the mask fall into place. Her body screamed for rest, but her mind refused to quit. This wasn't survival anymore. It was a mission.